They say we should have known better than to fall so deep down into this rabbit hole we found. And I was thinking...
Hi, this is Nikolai, and you're listening to my dad, Rafal, co-host James Jardine, and featuring Mr. Jim Tiller on the one and only Down the Security Rabbit Hole podcast. Plug in, listen up, and enjoy.
Deep into this pool of regrettable situations. Pitch black, think back to the last time that we were happy.
All right, here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome down the Security Rabbit Hole to another edition of your favorite cybersecurity podcast, Down the Security Rabbit Hole podcast. Here we go. Look at this cadre of characters I have. And of course, that means we're going to be talking about something to do with AI and probably SOC. And I'm going to let everybody, we're going to go around and let people introduce themselves. Because far too many people for me to try to remember who everybody is. And if Anton looks like he's from in his car, it's because he's in a Waymo escaping the AI apocalypse on the West Coast right as we speak. So he planned very, very well. So now he's in the car. All right. Anyway, Dan, I'm going to start with you. Who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So my name's Daniel Miesler. Been doing security probably about as long as you guys have. It looks like we got a bunch of veterans here. And yeah, so I've been doing security about 25 years and got into AI, I want to say around 2017 or so. I started getting into that. So kind of merging the two at this point.
Excellent. Jim.
Oh, my. Okay. Well, guest podcaster with you for the last year. It's been awesome. No, I've been in security for about with Dan and the rest of the team for two and a half decades. And I didn't get into AI as soon as Daniel did, but I'm definitely knee deep in it like everybody else right now, trying to figure out how to make it secure.
Yeah. Eric.
Hey. Yeah, just like everybody else here, I'm an old school vet. Been doing this for, I guess, over 30 years now. You know, I've been running more on the security operations side of things versus the AI side of things. But since AI seems to be the hot topic nowadays, of course, I've had to, jump into it since it's impacting everything I do nowadays. But yeah, I mean, I go back to the 90s, starting a CERT team at Cisco, running security operations for Salesforce, Sprinkler, Atlassian, and now running security here at Illumio. And I love being a guest on this show because we always have a good time.
Thanks, man. Okay, the man on the move, Anton.
Okay, well, yeah, I wanted to make some kind of a joke about me needing no introduction, but actually most people here need no introduction. And the whole measuring careers in decades just still freaks me out. But yes, I am Anton Chuvakin. I've been dealing with some of the SIEM SOC issues since the early days. And I guess my most dubious claim to fame is, no, not writing a book of PCI DSS. It's actually inventing the acronym EDR. And I think this is going to haunt me forever probably. But here I am dealing with AI security and, of course, with AI in a SOC as well. But the show is fun. Happy to see you all, and happy to have fun together.
Okay, good to have you. Raja, over to you, sir.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Raja Mukherjee. I'm the co-founder of a company called ExtraHop, which is a player in the NDR space. I've been in this industry since about 94 or so. I mean, and yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with you, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
And don't let the boyish charm fool you. Raja at one point wrote a. I'm gonna out you, Raja. At one point, you got annoyed with an inability for somebody to do something that you asked. So you wrote an AI that would then do the thing that you asked. You scared me just a little.
Turns out that if we'd injected a few complaints and unreliability to the AI, it would have been more at parity with the person complaining.
That's very good.
Oh, I love it. Rock, over to you, buddy.
A digital twin of Raph actually terrifies me. But I'm Rock Lambros. I'm the director of AI standards and governance at Zenity and the founder of Rock Cyber. I've been in this industry a long time too, like hair down on my shoulders, no grays when I started. So like 3 years ago. But in all seriousness, I am neck deep in all of the OWASP, Gen AI exchange security initiatives as well. But I come from a security engineering and security ops background. I've built and led several global security operations centers. So this kind of intersection of AI SOC, leveraging AI within the SOC, AI for cybersecurity, securing AI is pretty near and dear to me.
So let's start here. Can we all let's start with what we do all agree on, and then we'll kind of go from there. You guys know me, have been listening to the show for a while. I wouldn't say a detractor. I'm a slow adopter. I found, I was bleeding edge. I bought the new phone every time it came out. I was on the first version of Windows and Mac OS the minute it came out. But like somewhere between 20 years ago when that was popular and now, like I like being a adopter by the time the third patch comes out, because at least I know it's less likely to blow up my entire existence. I don't buy the latest cell phone. So I'm going to start you guys with this. Can we agree that AI, the LLM version of machines doing work, is a enabler or improvement over what we've been running up until recently, which is the world of SOAR? This should be.
It's a low bar.
This is not controversial.
It's it's a low bar at all. Very not controversial at all, right?
That's good. I like low bars, but we can clear that bar and keep going.
Yeah, because look, SOAR never delivered upon its promise. The reason it never delivered on its promise wasn't marketing collateral or all the glossies in the world. It was the fact that it was just too impractical to keep up with. I mean, you needed a team to manage the SOAR. So your self-healing was really more of like, you just moved the work to managing the SOAR rather than responding to the incidents.
Daniel, I think you're the resident, or at least on this podcast, you're the resident AI will call you a protagonist. You tend to live on the bleeding edge of this. We've gone back and forth a bit on, is this just, on one spectrum, like fancy autocomplete, which I had on my cell phone in a primitive version in the 90s, all the way to like it's sentient and it knows my thoughts. Like, where on this spectrum do you fall with respect to where the technology is at, like as of today?
I think it's really far along. I think it's very early along in actually being adopted and understood by enterprises, though. And I think that gap is pretty huge. So I think the capability of the tech itself is much different than the kind of maturity of organizations with understanding it and being able to actually use it. So it kind of two answers there.
That's interesting. But I think that happens often, right? Cloud computing is the same thing. When it first came to the fore, it was going to solve everything. And then over time, we pared back the marketing hype and figured out what it really does. Eric, Raja, anybody, Anton, maybe you're dying to say something. Does anybody want to chime in on this?
Can I add something real quick?
Yeah,
to that?
Go ahead.
I think there's a very specific reason that AI adoption is slow. And it actually relates to what you were saying, Raja, about SOAR. The thing that AI thrives on the most and is just really powerful when you do this is like, if you could just explain things extremely clearly, explain your goals, explain exactly what you're trying to do. And the problem is, I'm sure we've all been doing consulting here for a very long time. You go into the average org and you ask them, hey, what are the goals? What are you actually trying to do? Who's working on what and why? How many people are working on these different projects? How much money is it costing you? They're like, that's a fantastic idea. We should get a project together. And the project is actually to figure out what they're doing with their people and with their money and with their time, because they have no idea. So just imagine that AI is super powerful, which it's not. It's not sentient. It's not conscious. It's not any of that. Just imagine that it were, and it walks into an org and says, hey, I can handle everything for you. What are you guys doing exactly? What are you trying to accomplish? They can't give an answer. You can't automate with AI a thing that cannot be clearly articulated to the AI.
Wait a second. This is the exact
sorry,
same problem.
Me first.
Go ahead. Yeah. I know what you're going to say. Go.
Yeah. No, I don't at all. I wanted to bring it into a SOC because I just want to like wholeheartedly agree with Daniel. And I think I just want to bring up a SOC example. And there were plenty of examples where AI in a SOC failed because the previous SOC cannot articulate crown jewels, the procedures, processes, who does what, who is trained in what. If somebody can say what they do, they cannot explain why. How do they figure assets? We just figure it out. We don't, if John doesn't know what this machine does and who owns it, he would know who to call. They also won't know, but they would know the person who would actually know. And a lot of this is just a big hairy ball of ad hoc, or as my daughter says, ad hog, a lot of hog in this. So this is AI. And then I've met optimists who say that AI would look at all that and figure it out. But it exists in many brains, not in any automated or digital systems. How can AI figure it out? It needs to be not only sentient, but telepathic, right? Sorry,
this kind of circles back around. I would say to Raj's earlier point about how SOAR hasn't delivered. I mean, that's part of why we're seeing probably the slow adoption of AI, right? Because the same thing to make SOAR succeed, to Anton's point, you have to know what your kind of objectives, what the outcomes are you're trying to achieve. You have to have processes in place. Like if you want to automate a process with a SOAR, you have to know what it is. If you want to automate a process AI, you have to know what it is. You can't just throw a SOAR at the wall or throw AI at the wall. Hopefully it's going to solve your problem. And I like how Anton's articulated this in the past, where he's like, if you have a 1990 SOC and you add AI to it, you have a 1990 SOC plus AI. You don't have a 2026 SOC, right?
Yeah, there's another way to see this actually be true, is that if you look at like the giant banks or really advanced industries that have just been really nailing their stuff for decades and decades, and they have like all this knowledge built into their DNA, they can actually explain how processes work, right? And I'm not saying all, but many of these companies who actually can articulate what they're doing, they can pick up AI way faster, and I'm seeing them move much faster with AI. They're more careful with moving with AI because they're also a careful organization, which is why they have everything documented. But they actually can move fairly quickly because they have something to give to the AI. To your point, Eric, you can't automate processes that you don't have.
I think this is
AI won't fix it or replace them either.
You're raising some really good points here, but I'm going to point out that this is more than we see the same problem in more than security operations. I mean, there's a good reason that most vibe coded code is crap. And what really happens is somebody just tries to add features.
Be careful. This is a bit too blanket. Bit careful with that, though. I mean, it's a bit of a blanket statement to me. I don't know.
No, I said most. And I know it's a sweeping generalization, but just bear with me here just for a second. We see so many cases where somebody whips out their cursor for the first time, or they whipped out cloud code or something, and they're off to the races. And they don't exactly know what they're coding, but it picks. They let the tool pick, say, React, and halfway through, the context window fills up. The tool forgets that it picked React in the first place and starts going and refactoring React. And we see that sort of organic growth, if you will, in the code that it's generating, because there's no strict articulated strategy. Nobody's taken a step back to say, okay, what are we trying to build here? So then when you take a look at tools like, say, Kiro, that AWS released, Kiro took a step back and they said, okay, before we write a line of code, we're going to work on a functional specification. And I know that's the point at which people roll their eyes and say, oh, boring specifications. But it's a really good way of making sure that the problem that we're trying to solve is articulated before we solve it. And yes, I agree. Look, Anton, I'm not saying for a second that every piece of vibe-coded stuff is crap. And there are people who know how to use it properly. But what I'm saying is, unless somebody knows what answers they're trying to get from the tool, they're not going to get the answer they want.
Well, I think that's where SOAR did succeed. It was in very static, very deterministic runbooks, although like the integrations were probably very brittle. Raj, kind of like to your point with the maintainability of it early on, right? And with AI, specifically generative AI, which is by and large the modality we are leveraging today, right? You're kind of trying to find the patterns between the themes, but this goes back to a fundamental issue. Most SOC playbooks are shit, right? They are not good for all the reasons that you've described. Don't understand the business context, and also the business context changes drastically When you go talk to a security operations leader about fundamental business process reengineering within their SOCs, they look at you like you just landed from Mars, right? This also goes back to source failures, right? If you're just automating bad processes, you're making them fail faster and sometimes more catastrophic ways. And this is a non-technical problem, right? There's a non-technical solution and it involves humans, right? AI can't do that business process reengineering for you. And I would argue that next to Daniel, I am the most pro AI in this panel, but like it's got to be done without blinders on, right? You can't just say AI all the things and that's my strategy.
Yep.
And that seems to be a lot of people are doing too. Here's Claude Code, go knock yourself out without giving him a goal or an objective, or even like, what are you doing? Just here, go use the AI.
Yeah, and
you know what's funny?
What's funny about that? That's how I learned, like using Claude Code for the first time. I was just like, go. But I didn't put anything in production, right? Like I didn't expect it to actually work, right? And now that I'm like, I don't know, a year-ish into code, I think I'm a lot better at it. But that's how people learn. But yeah, I'm not rolling out anything public-facing production, anything, right?
Yeah, I think one way to see this problem is to just replace AI with the word like doing, or replace it with thinking and doing if you want to, like depending on the context there. But if someone says, what's your solution to so-and-so, or how do you accomplish so-and-so? And your answer is, well, I just do it. Okay, that's cool. What are you doing? Yeah, well, we have a thing for that. The thing that we use is the thing that does. Okay, cool. You have said absolutely nothing. You have not articulated anything. Saying that you have a doer, okay, it executes things. Yeah. Oh, it executes what? Well, you haven't said anything.
What? So this is like, it's properly depressing. So this is becoming properly depressing, because if the problem is always goals and whys and what do you want, then do we all conclude quietly that the problem is unfixable and go home? Or like this is a little like, can somebody just bring up something optimistic? And not only from the rigid environment, because I think Rock's point was exactly right. Like the where things are rigid, they're written up on paper put into Visio put into SOAR, everything works. Then things change, they redo it manually, and then things are seemingly okay. But what about everybody else who is still fuzzy about what they want? How is their future going to arrive?
I think this is the key to it, though. I don't remember exactly who said it. I think it was Vinod Khosla, but don't quote me on that. And what he said was there's two types of people with AI. There are those who use AI as a cheat code. Just skip it, use it to they use the AI to answer questions, write essays, write answers, what have you, with no idea of what they actually want to do. They just outsource all of it. And there are those who use AI as a force multiplier. Now, if you're using it in the latter use case as a force multiplier, it's almost a foregone conclusion that you know what you're trying to do. A force multiplier for what? To what end, if you will. Yep. So yes, I agree with you. If you jump in and say, hey, you know what, I'm just going to use AI to shortcut everything, I'm not going to think about it, so it's going to do my job for me. Yeah, you're not going to get what you want. But if you know what you want, it's going to be helpful.
Yep.
It concerns me then that a lot of the sales pitches that I see for AI technology is essentially that, like, don't worry about anything over here. We're going to sell you this box. It's going to do amazing things. This thing called AI, and everybody's got a cool name for it, is going to solve the problems. And we're back to like, but what would you say the problems that you solve are? Like, don't worry about it. All of them. We're going to solve all of them. We're going to make your SOC more efficient. We're going to reduce false positives. We're going to eliminate people. Yes. We're going to do all the things. I'm going to, back to like zero. We're going to find all the things all the unknowns. We're going to do all those things.
I think people who don't know what they're doing, or companies who don't know what they're doing, they've always been looking for a magical solution, right? It's like, the problem is we had a bad marketing department. Oh, that head of sales, that was like, he was horrible. And we're getting rid of him because now that's the solution. Like there's always this, when you don't have a clear sort of vision internally, you're looking for someone who has the vision, someone who has the answer. And now here AI comes along
AI.
And it could do all this crazy stuff. And they're just like, well, now the answer is AI. It's like, okay, cool. How are you going to implement it? What are you going to do with it? And they're like, yeah, well, the big thing for us is just having an AI strategy. And it's like, what does that mean?
But now you've successfully described every sorry, Brock, but now you've successfully described every vendor at RSA 2026.
Totally.
And every vendor that's about to be a black hat. But even if you have,
not with AI,
even if you have that visionary, right, in your organization, the C-suite is enamored by perceived cost savings, right, through AI, right? Mm-hmm. So even if you have that visionary, the person that or people that know what they're doing, or those external pressures from the C-suite to leverage AI at all costs to reduce costs, which we know isn't happening. Does that, I mean, that, in my opinion, that hamstrings them, right? So even with the competent people, I think the business drivers are misaligned to what AI can do or should be doing.
But Rock, that's what we did that with we did that with cloud computing, though. Like with cloud, everybody said, "Oh, it's going to be so much cheaper across every use case, and you'll be able to go across cloud and burst and faster and bigger and better and more secure." And crap, it was none of those things because shockingly,
it was more secure.
Everything was an add-on, and nobody knew how it worked.
Yeah, but you know what? 20 years later, we're just now seeing I would say not even a mass adoption, but an uptick in companies moving back on-prem. Right now, because of you didn't have to hire data center people, lease data centers, do all the hardware maintenance, the hardware swaps, all that kind of things, at the cost of not being able to depreciate assets on the books, right? So, clouds had this 20-year revenue grab of now maybe we're going to start to see some reversal, but that reversal to where the pendulum actually flips, that's probably another 20 years off, honestly. So, like we say that, but the reality is. Cloud's here. It's been here. It's not going anywhere. And I think that's the same with AI, except we're realizing that cost fallacy a lot sooner.
Well, yeah, I think the key thing here is like deep understanding. Like do you deeply understand what cloud gives you and what it doesn't? And most companies don't, therefore they make bad decisions. Do you deeply understand what AI gives you and what you actually lose with AI? No, most companies don't. So they're going to spend money that they shouldn't be doing, because if you don't have that deep understanding, you can't properly apply it to some things and not use it for others.
You know, that's a good point.
I think we are again sliding into the trough of depression. Yeah.
But there's also another thing. So I just got back from 6 weeks of travel in Asia for spreading the word and the gospel according to my company. And one of the things that I noticed was that there's a lot more AI cybersecurity early adopters in Asia than there have been for almost every other technology I've seen. So, for example, when we first launched the company, we in Asia in particular. So when we first launched ExtraHop, I remember this was 2007 April. We went to the AWS launch, and everyone was talking about AWS, and here we are. 22 years later. No, not 22 years. 18 years later. 18 years later, and still people are talking about when do we move to cloud? Regulated industries. There's an excuse. There's all these things that are coming. Whereas in Asia, this time around, I mean, what GPTs became mainstream a couple of years back, and everyone's talking about, okay, how do we regulate it? How do we understand it? How do we govern it? How do we use it? And the acceleration, I've never seen anything like the ramp that we're seeing in AI, and particularly AI and cybersecurity.
Do you feel like this is because they understand the problems better? Like, why do you think they're more eager?
A couple of things. Firstly, I think the Chinese strategy of open weighting everything has driven more ubiquity and has sidestepped the governance and sovereignty questions. That's thing number one. And I'm going to save my analysis for how I think that is so backwards. Kind of driving open weights and LLMs. But that's for another day. So that's thing one. The other thing we're also seeing is the prevalence of things like the AI assistants, the OpenClaws, the Hermes. These things in the world, these are being brought into the enterprise whether people like it or not. And I think that's scaring a lot of people. And so now, and finally, we're now starting to see the advent of actual malware, ransomware gangs, all using these attacks repeatedly. I think I saw something a couple of days back about some ransomware that hallucinated, some AI-driven ransomware that hallucinated in the middle of it and just destroyed everybody's files without saving the key. So yes, these things, clearly they need to polish these things, but it's happening absolutely everywhere. And I don't think people can just say, hey, we're not going to adopt AI, because it's going to be, it's on them whether they want it or not.
This is a strange place now, because we're debating, or we're really kind of bringing it back to a lot of what the promise of SOAR was, but knowing the limitations of SOAR, obviously this wasn't it. So now we're saying, okay, there's a lack of, let me see if I can sum it. There's a lack of understanding on behalf of the buyer. I would say there's a significant amount of overselling on behalf of the buyer or the seller.
To put it mildly.
To put it mildly. Okay. Yeah. I'll leave it at that. No need to poke fingers. They know who they are. What we've seen, and I've seen this in the headlines, is the tremendous amount of hype buildup that we've seen for AI as a technology, as applied to cybersecurity. Like, that is, I think the line from Big Trouble in Little China is, you're writing checks your body can't cash, right? Like we are writing some big old checks, and I don't think the tech can cash those. And I think some of that is the fact that, like, we're selling things, technology simply, I don't think we'll ever be able to do. I don't think technology will ever be able to think, right? That and
again, long term. Don't do long term predictions, please, on the air. You may eat them in 5 years, but
I'm sure I'll be wrong. By then, I hope to be dead.
Well, I think they already think so. I don't know if we want to debate. But
I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry, Daniel and Anton, pile up on Raf. Great idea.
That's we'll save that one for a different podcast. But all right, but we're effectively saying garbage in, garbage out. If you don't know what you want, you're not going to get what you don't know that you want, right? So it feels like we're at a. If you think about, like, the chart that's like low temperature, high temperature, okay, the selling is at like ultra high temperature. The understanding is somewhere around like just above freezing, lukewarm. And then, like, the capability is somewhere in the middle. So we've oversold a technology that
I like the model,
can get about halfway to what we've told people it can do. But meanwhile, most people are buying it have no idea what to ask it to do, because they don't know what it actually does or how it gets there. Am I off?
I mean, what?
Yeah, I think that's genuinely insightful. Yeah. Okay, go Daniel. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. I'd like to point out that Anton said something I said was genuinely insightful. I'd like to mark this day on the calendar.
All right.
So set it as your ringtone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out for the statement that you made, Raf, what is the problem that you think we need to solve? Because it sounds like you're reacting to, like, the hype of the AI industry, but like, I think that's got its own, like, marketing problems and just people. I think the root of it is still people not understanding the tech, or not understanding their own org, or understanding their own goals. And when you don't understand things, everything looks attractive. Everything looks cool. Every solution looks like it can save you. It's like, at the root base of this, it's fundamentally like people don't understand what the tech is and don't understand what their problems are. Therefore, they can't tell that solution is not going to solve their problem.
Nailed it. So if you ask me what the problem from that is, I think there's a twofold issue here. One, and I don't think we're going to ever be able to solve this because PE and VCs exist. The hype is insane. Like, the hype that we've seen around and the carnival barkers we've seen around AI technologies, this is the craziest I think I've ever seen. And I've been around since the DOS days, right? Like, this is the craziest I've ever. This will change the world. It will make sure it will obsolesce every human worker. We will work as humans will no longer exist. We'll just feed the computers, and they'll give us money and give us meaning in life. Like,
that's a fringe view, though. That is a fringe view.
Have you heard Dario
That
talk?
bit is probably a fringe.
If you're not watching the video, if you're just listening to the podcast, you just missed a quintessential Anton moment. And I'm going to tell you, go watch the show. This is one you're going to have to see for yourself. But okay. All right. So I think this is a natural break point because I want to take this conversation in the direction of how do we then, now that we've identified sort of the and largely agree on like, okay, we don't have a technology problem. We have an education and marketing problem. Cool. So how do we take the technology that as this group knows it exists and apply it to something rational in cyber, in operations, to then raise the bar for attackers? So on that note, I'm going to take a brief pause here. And if you're listening to this right now, come back next week because this is going to be part 2. Stay tuned. All right. Thanks for listening to the first part of the 2-parter on limitations and expectations for AI SOC. This is Raf signing off for now. Don't forget to come back next week for part 2. I bring everybody back and we have a deeper discussion. Until next time, catch you another time, another place on another Down to Security Rabbit Hole podcast. Ciao.
This is Bella. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to leave my dad a review and share this with your friends. Bye.